So one of the things I want to do a better job of is bringing you with me when I experience these healing modalities that I find fascinating and interesting and what some might call alternative or naturopathic. And today we're going to experience together my Emotion Code and Reiki session that I did with my friend Teresa Porter. Now, she's a pro, she's very good at this work, and I've gone to her several times to receive it. Now, I'm going to do my best to explain Emotion Code after you listen to this really quick clip of an example of what Emotion Code is.
All right, so the next one is depression, current emotion connected to relationships. And I know you've already expressed some things, but there's something else that needs to be said. I can also read the definition because sometimes it gives a little bit more insight into.
Yeah, no, I think I know what it is. It came to me right away as soon as you mentioned it. It's just I miss my best friend so much. I miss my mom so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I'm not going to take you through every single emotion that we released, but I am going to take you through failure, absorbed emotions, frustration, pride, and obviously depression. So you're going to come with me on a pretty vulnerable journey as I look to this modality to set these things down. Like, let me be clear about it. This is what healing is to me now. It's letting go of things that are not mine to carry any longer. And some of these things I've been holding on to for way too long, and it's time for them to go because they're affecting how I show up for me. They're affecting how I show up for other people. So here we go. Teresa Porter is going to explain to you briefly what I'm in store for today. And then we're going to go through each of the Emotion Code release sessions together, followed by a quick little movement sesh, and then we get into the Reiki, and then we'll close up today here on Learn from People Who Lived It.
Looking for no bullshit conversation about mental health? Find Learn from People Who Lived It wherever you get podcasts. Search it using all one word. Learn from People Who Lived It.
Welcome to another episode of Learn from People Who Lived It.
So what I'm going to do is we're going to start with the breathing, checking, grounding. I'm going to have you evaluate how you're feeling.
Okay.
And then how the emotion code works in a very short overview is I use muscle testing, which is a form of kinesiology, to identify what emotions your body is storing depending on what we test. And then I use a magnet over your governing meridian, which runs here down the back, which is the main meridian all meridians run into for acupuncture therapy. So it's like an energy system that your energy can get stuck and stagnant. And I'm sure most people have heard of magnets, or maybe not, that magnets can help heal, like people wear magnetic bracelets or whatever for healing, that erases the emotion. So it sounds super simple, but if you think of the analogy of if your credit card comes in contact with a magnet, it erases all the information on your credit card, right? Have you heard of that?
Makes the stripe. It happens mostly on my hotel keys.
Yes, unfortunately. So that's the concept, how to think about it. Again, it's something that it's hard for them to wrap their brain around it, but it's super simple and it's not really invasive. And then you don't have to unpack all the details of a specific event. That's why I love this modality. A lot of my clients love this modality.
Yeah, like I always tell people, and I've said for 2 years, there's never been a better time to heal because now we have all these modalities where you don't have to really say fucking anything if you don't want to. Like, you don't have to get into the details of what mommy and daddy did or like some graphic incident from your past or some traumatic. The details don't really matter. You're going to ask me some questions. And we're going to do a little bit of back and forth based on some muscle testing. You'll do what you do next.
Yes.
Okay, so far so good. So up next, we do a little grounding exercise. And if you want to join along, feel free.
So we'll take a deep breath in. Exhale, mouth open. And just give yourself permission to fully be present for the session for you. Letting go of our to-do list, all the business of the morning, just allow you to be fully present throughout the session. Take another deep cleansing breath. Your hand that's on your forehead, place it on your belly. And now we're going to go into yoga breathing. So you're going to start to drop the breath from the chest down into the belly. You're going to feel the belly and the ribcage expand on your inhalation. Just giving yourself permission to drop further into your body. Being present with your breath. And as you continue to focus on your breath, I'm going to have you scan your body without any judgment, just to notice what's there physically, mentally, and emotionally.
Don't you just feel better? I do. All right. So next we get into the actual emotion code release session. So I'm going to try to paint the picture for you really quick. I want to imagine that you take your middle finger and your thumb and you make a circle, and then you take your middle finger and your thumb and you make a circle on the other side, and then you lock those two things together really quick so that if your thumb and your finger are both touching, you can't separate the circles, okay? This is how Teresa does the muscle testing. And what'll happen is she'll ask herself a series of questions, and every question she's asking, she's pulling against those two fingers. Well, when the muscle test says, release and open up, she takes that as the sign. She asks no questions. She convicts to it. And that's how she trusts the process. And I have really yet to experience her being wrong about any of this. So the first emotion that we come up with is failure. Now, we'll get to that in just a second. What I haven't told you yet is that I'm really there to see Teresa today because I've had this sore shoulder for going on 5 or 6 weeks now. And I've been doing chiro, I've been doing massage, I've been doing the Theragun, I've been doing ointment cream. I've been trying all the stuff that I can to sort of minimize the pain, but it still feels gunked up. And so she drops this little nugget on me about what shoulder pain means to this modality.
So this book I use all the time.
You can
Heal Your Life, Louise Hay. And I want to look up what shoulders resemble.
Okay.
And it says, represents our ability to carry out experiences in life joyously. We make life a burden by our attitude. I don't know if that resonates or not with you.
So I think you could tell by my reaction that, it hit me across the head like a 2x4. It's such a truth, isn't it? Oh, man. The way we show up has everything to do with just how we feel. Oh, it's so true. Okay, so let's get to it.
Is there any trapped emotions we can release at this time that are contributing to Matthew's shoulder pain on his left side? Yes, is it column A? Column B is even rows. Is it row 2? Is it failure? Do we need to know more information to release this trapped emotion? Is this a current emotion? Is this a current emotion? Yes. Is this connected to work? Is this connected to relationships? Do we need to know more information to release this trapped emotion? So the first one is failure. Current emotion connected to, when I work with adults, I always like to connect it to work and relationships, and it is connected to both areas.
Do I keep my eyes closed?
You can open it this time. And then when we do the release part, you can.
Okay.
But we do need to know more information.
How do you know, failure, this, that? How did you decipher that out? You were asking yourself a bunch of questions.
I was muscle testing for you. So I don't know if most people, if they're not familiar with muscle testing, maybe they've seen muscle testing where someone holds their arm out and they ask a question. If it's strong, it means yes. If it's weak, it's no, because your body holds the truth. So a lot of times I can't do that with my clients because of issues, right? So the arm would be fatigued and I want to get accurate information. So I do muscle testing this way. So this is a yes, this is a no when I go through. And I've just learned to trust the process. And
So you're in here doing a little bit of
this. And then I'm going through this chart that has 60 emotions on it. And it's divided into columns and rows. But this is also the magnet I use when I do the release.
Okay, so
failure is current.
We need to know more.
Yeah. So it's connected to relationships and work.
So it's both things?
Both areas.
Yeah.
So when I say the emotion, whatever comes up that feels like it, you think of something offhand, and we'll explore that. And as you're talking, a muscle test to see if that's
I have been feeling and wanting to work on releasing the shame that I feel around. Because listen, I have to back up a little bit. I made a big decision for not just me, but my entire family a few years ago. And I have a lot of shame surrounding the fact that it'll be 3 years this December, and I don't have us to where I had us before. Financially, yeah, but just in I think, probably just financially. And so there's a lot of shame around that, which is terrible. And I'm trying so hard to work through that. I'm actively meditating on those things. So that's where I think the failure comes in from the work perspective. And does that feel right?
Yeah, there's something else I need to know that you have to say. I don't know. So as this work is I muscle test as my clients talk.
Yeah.
And then there's something else that you need to bring up to the subconscious that needs to be either verbalized or thought of before we can release the emotion.
About work or about relationships?
Probably relationships.
Yeah, so I was just getting to that. So then the other piece is my wife and I are getting ready to celebrate our 20-year anniversary in just a couple of weeks.
Okay.
And I feel like we need to come together in a different way than we have because of maybe some of the stuff that I just talked about, how the last couple of years have been really challenging for us. And maybe to a degree, both of us have been in a little bit of survival mode or something like that. Anyways, I think long story short is everybody has their idea about what their relationship should feel like. And I think I know what my relationship feels like with Nicolai when it's like really on point. And I don't have that feeling as much as I want to.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the thing is that, I'm really hoping that we can come together and just kind of refocus that energy a little bit. So we have some plans to go in a couple of weeks and do a really beautiful 20-year anniversary trip together. And I don't think we're gonna get there. It's just, we're like a lot of people, right? We have kids, we have busy lives. We don't spend as much time connecting. And what I find with Nicolai and I is when we get out, when it's just the two of us, it doesn't take long for us to recognize why we came together in the first place.
Yep, I agree with that 100%.
So I think those are the two things that have been, heavy for me lately and that I are contributing to my body tension.
Yes. So as you were talking, I muscle tested. We don't need to know more.
Yeah.
Unless you feel like you need to express anything else. Because sometimes this is the only safe place that people get to express stuff.
Oh.
If
No, I
they
think
need to
that's
get off their chest.
That's about the whole story.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is I'm going to have you turn to the left.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we can adjust this just a little bit up there. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to run this down your governing meridian. So you're going to turn to the left just a little bit and see if this... I guess they can still hear. So we're going to do 3 deep cleansing breaths. I'm going to run this down your governing meridian. So you're going to inhale through the nose, exhale with the mouth open. Full intent. And with gratitude. We release this trapped emotion of failure from Matthew's body, specifically his left shoulder. Allowing room for forgiveness with himself. Allowing him to energetically disconnect from all negative cords that have been holding him back and moving forward in his relationships and in work. So you're going to stay with the breath. See if you feel any sensations in the body with that release. So I'm getting that there was still something else. So another thing I test for, if I keep getting, we need more information, it's absorbed emotion. So it's an absorbed emotion from somebody. It's an absorbed emotion from Nicolai. So it's absorbed emotion for someone else. Again, because you talked about you and Nicolai, that it's attached to absorbed emotion from her of anxiety also.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because you guys are in the same space together all the time, right?
Yeah. No, I can feel it for sure. Yeah.
Okay. We don't need to know more unless you feel like you need to express anything else.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go ahead and release it.
A few minutes later.
All right. We're going to keep going.
Okay.
Take a deep cleansing breath, holding the intention of releasing emotions from your shoulder. Is there any other trapped emotions we can release at this time from Matthew's that's contributing to Matthew's shoulder pain on his left side? So column A, column B, is it even row 2, is it row 4? depressions or frustration? Do we need to know more information to release this trapped emotion? Yes. Is this a current emotion? Is this connected? Do we need to know more information? Is this connected to work? Is this connected to relationships? Do we need to know more information to release this trapped emotion? I realize I'm talking fast. I don't know if people can hear what I'm saying. I need to slow down. So the next emotion is frustration. It's current, connected to relationships, and we don't need to know more information probably from what you already expressed.
Yeah.
So unless you wanted to verbalize anything.
Let's get rid of it.
Okay.
And so what's important to think about and know, at least, is like, while I'm going through these cleansings, I'm legitimately trying to let go of that feeling and that emotion and just release it any which way I can, which is why I'll have these physical sensations, like the times where I get it in my throat, or I feel it in my chest, or I feel it, somewhere in my body. I'm real intentional about these therapies because, number one, they're not the cheapest therapies in the world, but number two, like, why go through this if you're not going to like really go through it, go right fucking through it so you can just feel better in a couple of days. And what's interesting is, I'm recording this portion of the podcast now 2 days after the treatments, and I can feel these really cool shifts taking place, a little bit more clarity, a little bit more focus. I'm a little bit more upbeat. My shoulder incredibly is feeling a lot better. So, I take them real serious, and I really do my best to let them go, even the tough stuff, like our next buddy we get to release.
All right, let's see if your body can release any more for this. All right, you're holding that intention. Take a deep cleansing breath. Is there any other trapped emotions we can release at this time that are contributing to Matthew's shoulder pain on his left side? So column A, column B is even rows. So row 2 is row 4, row 6. So pride. Do we need to know more information? Release this trapped emotion. Is this a current emotion? Is this connected to work? Is this connected to relationships? Yes. Do we need to know more information? Release this trapped emotion. So the next one is pride.
Wow.
Do you want me to read the definition?
Yeah, maybe it'll give me some context on what I need to say.
So it is current and it is connected to work and relationships. So these definitions come from the emotion code, like work. So like when you go through it, they specifically to this work. This is where I'm reading the definitions from. Pride, an overly high esteeming of oneself for some real or imagined merit or I always say this wrong. Superiority. I cannot say that word.
Superiority.
Oh my gosh, yes. Vanity. There you go. An excessive desire to be noticed, praised, or approved, feeling better than others, non-teachable, has to be right, expects more credit than earned, or treats others with disdain or contempt. Having a healthy amount of pride, self-respect, and self-esteem is a good thing. And this type of pride usually doesn't show up as a trapped emotion, although it may show up if one's healthy pride is injured.
Wow, it's very interesting.
Oh, a lot to digest there, right?
Yeah, holy smokes.
I do think it is this interesting thing of leaving one job where you're in the public eye and you're getting a lot of praise and attention and accolades, and it's kind of constant. And then, now stepping away from that, I reconcile that thought of like, did I ever really need it? Did it do me any good? I've had lots of internal discussions about the amount of, I don't want to say damage, but I'm going to use that word anyways. The amount of damage that does where you work in a job where everybody's blowing smoke up your ass all the time. And listen, it might be very sincere, and I'm not saying they're not telling the truth and all of those things, right? But when you hear that all the time, I don't know how that doesn't change a person. And then when you turn that volume almost all the way down, it's very, very different. And so I think for me, the thing that's kind of coming up that maybe I'm supposed to say is that I felt an incredible amount of pride about what I did for my life and for my family for a long time. And I've lost some of that going through this next phase of my life where I'm getting back to myself and getting back to what I need. And so right now, my pride is probably, my volume's down on my pride a little bit.
Let's say release this trapped emotion on pride. Okay, whatever needed to be said. Is there something else coming up that you want to share?
I think that's really just the truth.
Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and release it.
I'll tell you, sometimes I'm in these emotion code sessions and something like that'll come up that I didn't even see coming. I never saw pride coming. And then to have to face off with it right then and there and just come to grips with like what's really going on. It's probably one of the reasons that I appreciate this modality so much, and I don't go to it all the time, but I do chase it when I'm feeling stuck for, maybe more than a few weeks in some area of my body, or I'm in a little bit of a funk or a rut. Like I'll go in and I'll just kind of release this stuff and get rid of it.
So we're going to see if your body can release any more. I usually don't like to do any more than 10 in a session, 10 emotions.
Okay.
And then we're going to go into the movement piece, specifically what I explained there, right? So not only are we releasing the emotions with this modality, and then we're going to go into movement, because movement helps to release the emotions on a different level.
Okay.
So let's see if we can release any more. We're going to hold that intention of releasing emotions from your shoulder that are contributing to your shoulder pain. Is there any other trapped emotions we can release at this time that are contributing to Matthew's shoulder pain on his left side? Column A, column B, is it even rows? Is it row 2? Is it row 4? Is it depression? Do we need to know more information to release this trapped emotion? Is this a current emotion? Is this his emotion? Is this an absorbed emotion? Is this connected to work, connected to relationships? Yes. Do we need to know more information to release this trapped emotion? All right, so the next one is depression, current emotion, connected to relationships. And I know you've already expressed some things, but there's something else that needs to be said. I can also read the definition because sometimes it gives a little bit more insight into.
Yeah, no, I think I know what it is. It came to me right away as soon as you mentioned it. It's just I miss my best friends so much. I miss my mom so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we need to know more information to release this trapped emotion? No. All right.
That was it.
That was it.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and release it. All right. Very deep quantum breaths. And through the nose, actually. With full intent and with gratitude. We release this trapped emotion of depression. Not his body. Up on his left shoulder.
Teresa's, one of these people who's been in this field for so long, and she's done so many cool modalities that she blends things together. So depending on the person and what's needed, she can really kind of choreograph the right sequence for them. And for me, she knows how much I like yoga. That's a huge joke between her and I. And so she puts me on the mat because, as you're going to hear her explain, after we've released all these trapped emotions, now it's time to get the body involved.
So head up here, lay on your back. So we did the release on a subconscious level with the magnet, the muscle testing, you breathing, feeling where it's in your body. Now we're going to add movement.
Okay.
Because your body needs movement to release. So I found it's a lot more powerful for the release to continue to happen when we add the movement. And we're going to specifically go into some restorative yoga poses to help release the heart space and the root chakra, which also correlates with the thoracic outlet and the low back and the psoas, like we were talking about earlier. Okay. So we're not going into corpse pose. Yes. Yeah. Sleeping pose. Bend your feet, bend your knees. And then we're going to do, I call these windshield wipers. So you're going to take your feet on the outside of your mat and then take your arms out to the side all the way. There you go. And then you're going to move with your breath. So you're going to drop your legs to the left and you're going to bring the inside of the knee as close to the mat as you can. We're going to hold here. So as you do that, you're going to feel the stretch through the hips. And then you're going to inhale, come up, exhale, drop to the right. So we're going to do this a few times on each side. We're just going to add some movement, getting the hips to open up and loosen up before we go into restorative pose. Good. Use that cleansing breath. Helps the body to release even more.
So she puts me through a few different movements and sequences. And of course, I feel better after. I just resisted at first because I'm a dummy. But then it's my favorite part of the whole thing. Like, I like the emotion code thing because I'm one of these guys who I'm okay talking about it. It's usually things that I'm thinking about anyway. So it feels good to sort of say them to somebody else. But the Reiki is where it's at, man, because you just... the hand hovering, and she's going to explain it here really quick. Listen.
So after I do the emotion code, the movements, this energy work, whether I do craniosacral or Reiki, again, depending on where my client's at, if they are kind of emotionally still tired, they feel like they need some regulation before they go back out to the world, I'd use this to kind of help balance their energy after the release part and that movement part.
Yeah. I'm feeling the most soreness in here when we did that stretch. Something really came up there. That's interesting.
So is it still lingering there?
A little bit.
Okay. So for this part, we're just going to go through, I kind of do a little sequence to get me ready to do it. And then you're just going to feel me move my hands in different areas of the body. And we're just going to focus on breath. There's no talking. Okay?
You got it.
I'm pretty sure I fell asleep, but I can't quite guarantee that happened. What I do know is how good I felt after that session was done. From there, Teresa and I do what we always do, which is we go out into her lobby area. It's like a big living room. We sit on the couch and we just kind of download for a sec.
So what did you feel with the energy part when we're balancing after the release and the movement with the...
Yeah, I felt your hands above my face several times. I felt the warmth of that. You had asked me one time during, do I feel it? You said your hands were buzzing you around my shoulders. I felt like your hands were over my chest at that point, though.
Yeah.
So that was the only thing. And then I almost felt like I zoned out a little bit.
You were snoring. I was kidding. You were breathing.
And
relaxed state.
I was really relaxed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you feel like it helped regulate the tiredness and the emotions of what came up in the release part?
Yeah, I feel like, to use our buddy Jill's expression, closed up. Like I feel...
You're closed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because what I was noticing when my clients would leave and they were having the release from the emotion code and maybe even the yoga part with the movement, I was noticing that they're still raw and open. So that's why I started playing around doing craniosacral work, which is a form of energy work, because I was doing that in my massage practice. But then I started, when I got trained in Reiki, adding that to it. And depending on what I feel like my clients need, I would use either or. And I help still them up so they're not leaving back out into the world raw and open and exposed from what we just released. It kind of helps regulate their energy on multiple levels. What I felt when I was working on you was sometimes I feel energy, sometimes I get messages. I didn't get any messages from you for you, but my hands were definitely buzzing on the left shoulder. But I kept feeling like my hands were drawn back to your sacral gut area, up to your heart space, and to the throat. Like something's there.
Yes.
So I kept going back to that, feeling like I was trying to release and regulate and move the energy out, and then going out through your left shoulder down the arm. Like somehow that is connected, and something about your throat. Maybe it's speaking your truth, healthy boundaries. It is connected to the shoulder. I don't know. That's the impression I kept getting. So I kept coming back to that.
The throat and the shoulder. That's my new book.
But there's something connected to the heart space. And even when I was finishing, I felt like I needed a ground between the heart space and the center. So I don't know if that means you need to get in alignment with what you're thinking logically and what's in the heart space.
Yeah.
I kept going back to that. I don't know if you felt me. I kept going back to this whole line right here of like...
I didn't notice it, but what you're saying makes a lot of sense to me.
So, yeah. So that's what I felt. I kept going back to... I feel like it wasn't done, like it wasn't complete. So that's why I kept going back to those areas until I felt like it was moving out. So I was doing the clearing of that whole line, if that makes sense, from the sacral up to the solar plexus, heart,
So
throat.
like, what are the best things for me to do the rest of the day? Drink water, go on walks, nap.
I would say listen to your body and what speaks to you. So yes, sometimes sleeping. I remember when I first started getting this type of work done, I was exhausted.
Tacos.
Something fulfilling that nourishes you, like a healthy meal. I don't know. Hey, tacos. No, I wouldn't drink. I know you don't drink, but in general, when people get cleansing work like this or body work, I usually highly recommend no alcohol.
Yeah.
Because that's adding toxins to what's been stirred up energetically. And then when I was doing body work, not only energetically, but physically stuff was stirred up. But drink lots of water, and then it's like a release. So think of it as a detox. So over the next couple of days, your body could take 3 to 5 days, depending on the person, to regulate and let the release continue to happen.
Okay.
And sometimes people have ahas, like they start to connect the dots of why they've been operating from a certain perspective or in a certain way, or why they have a certain behavior. As we start to do, unpack the layers of emotions, they just start to gain awareness. Sometimes when I work with business professionals, sometimes they have clarity and things open up and they're able to execute things because they've had that release.
That makes sense.
But if you are into journaling, I recommend people to journal what those ahas are, so that over time, if you do more than one session, you could start maybe seeing a pattern if you revert back to old operating systems and what needs to happen. But all these type of modalities brings people from sympathetic states, which is fight, flight, or freeze, or fawn, which is people pleasing, into parasympathetic state, which is rest and digest. So the more you do modalities, habits, meditation, breath work, yoga, it helps to disrupt the negative feedback loop in your brain to get people to disrupt those operating systems that aren't serving them and those behaviors and patterns. But it's stuff like this that taps more into the subconscious, because people are like, well, I've worked through that. I've talked through that. I've gone to a talk therapist. I've heard that so many times. Yes, talk therapy has its place. I'm actively in talk therapy myself right now, but there's a place for this too, if that makes sense. So yes, you can logically talk through stuff, get strategies of how to communicate better, but on a subconscious level, what is your body still holding on to that's allowing you to move forward maybe in those concepts that you're learning in talk therapy?
And that's what we did today. That's what your modality
is.
Helped.
Work on the subconscious level, releasing what's contributing. We just addressed your chronic pain today with your shoulder.
Right.
But it can be used in lots of different ways, like anxiety, depression,
pride,
addiction. Yes.
All kinds of shit came up.
Yeah.
It's good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm glad you came in and you're vulnerable enough to show it and then let people experience it through you.
Well, like I said, I want to do more of that this year, because what's important is that, this, right? No two healing journeys are going to be the exact same. Everybody's going to look a little different. What works for me isn't going to work for you and vice versa. But what's important is that you know what's out there so you can at least choose it. So thank you so much to Teresa Porter. I'll link to her in the show notes. Thanks to you for coming through this week and listening to our podcast about emotion coding and Reiki and movement. And I hope it opens up the door for you to try something new, especially if you're stuck and you're feeling like you can't get to the next place. It's quite possible that all you need to do is move some space to make room for new possibilities and perspectives. Have a great week. Thanks for listening to Learn from People Who Lived It.
We have 3 goals with Learn from People Who Lived It. 1. To help you feel less alone. 2. Encourage you to seek out a coach, a therapist, a church, anyone who can help you get through your journey and find some healing. 3. When you're ready, share your story with us.
Find Learn from People Who Lived It wherever you get podcasts. Search it using all one word. Learn from People Who Lived It.